Yep, for sure.
Okay, so then welcome. Thanks for uh, that for the honor that we can speak because I've been following you, and this is such an important topic, because
Hmm.
as I saw from your content that you have this thing going on with your back, and I had some patients too, and I just want to talk about this situation, how people get stuck in this thing, and if there is a way out of scoliosis and all those things. So yeah,
For sure. Well, good to be here,
yeah, thank you.
of course. So, yeah, where do you want to start?
Oh, it's a good question. Just maybe let's just start. How old are you? How was this whole journey? How did you come to this point, and how did you come to this point where you're at now? So let's just start with the beginning of your history.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm 41 now, and
Wow.
the kyphosis and scoliosis really started forming around my teenage years. I had a couple of injuries in my ankle, in my hip, and then on the
What
computer,
kind of
kind of
injuries?
ignoring and escaping. Uh, it didn't help the situation. So in those teenage years, I kind of formed a pretty severe curve, about an 85-degree curve in the
Mm-hmm.
spine, and went to the doctor, who then sent me to the surgeon, and the surgeon said that I was not a candidate for surgery because it was quite a risky surgery
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't justified. And he kind of said that I had to just live with it and manage it. And so from that time, I just lived with it, and I didn't do too much about it. I didn't know that there was much to do about it until about I was 33 years old, and that's when things really started getting compressed. I find people in their 30s really start feeling gravity a bit more, and that's when the midsection started getting more choked out.
Right.
Compression in the psoas, the lymphatic system, digestive system, the
Wow.
whole system starts kind of shutting down.
I
So
have
it was at that time that I really started.
excuse me, I have a small question. Just
Hmm.
because I'm curious, what kind of injuries were that? Like a standard, you rolled your ankle, or what happened with your ankle? What happened with your hip?
Yeah, a few different ankle sprains, as well as a near drowning accident where I got my ankle kind of slip knotted in a rope in a river, and I couldn't get out. So I was kind of struggling towards my ankle,
Okay,
causing a
so
bit of a torque and a twist as I was
so
reaching.
like a linked trauma also with the breathing pattern, and like maybe it can be linked.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that was like I was pivoting right around my diaphragm, as well as choking on water as well.
Mm-hmm.
So very
Wow.
deep diaphragmatic trauma there for sure.
Mm-hmm. And what was it, if I may ask, what happened to your hip?
Well, during that situation, my because one of my ankles was in the rope
Yeah.
and the river was coming this way, the other leg was
Ah,
getting kind of pushed with the water,
okay, I
so it
understand.
created that kind of strain in that hip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, it meant that, like, without proper rehabilitation from that, I was pretty injured and collapsed, and so I just kind of I didn't know how to reverse that collapse at that time.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And so then you had this like breaking point, let's say 33, and then you were like, man, I gotta do this on my own, or what happened then?
Yeah, I got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the way out. It was a very dangerous situation. My body was shutting down, so I had to figure out what I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing, I started relieving some of the tightness in the psoas and the hips, and
Yeah.
that really started unlocking me. And I was like, okay, I have my energy
Wow.
back. Starting to like improve my posture. I'm like, well, I wonder how far I can go with it. And in that process, after 8 months of really desperately searching, I was like, I committed to make my health my number one priority, because without that, there was nothing. And so
Mm-hmm.
during that process, I really made that commitment. Even if I get better,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to make health my number one priority.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so I got better, and I'm like, okay, so I'm going to continue on this journey of seeing what I can do and prioritizing that. And that's taken me on now an almost 8 year journey of looking at what I can do. And that's been some of the stuff that I've been sharing on social media.
Wow, that's very nice because
Mm-hmm.
not just with, let's say, scoliosis topic or hunchback or how you want to call it, it happens to every one of us because I work with people long term also on their topics physically, and it's always
Mm-hmm.
the thing that there are two types of people. There's one that's the 95%, 98% not aware of the body and out of the responsibility, so they gave it away, and then they hope for an MRI or a crack or a emotional release, and then they're good. So
Mm-hmm.
there's always, I say, there's always this breaking point in people where they have it, even let's say a bad accident or a disease, or they have this consciousness. 2% of us have that they just do it before, and they shift this consciousness to I gotta do it myself. So this is a very, very important message, even if
Mm-hmm.
you're in this seemingly position where nobody can help you and they say you're stuck, because then you receive the message, oh, you cannot do anything about it, and the people believe it. It goes in the
Mm-hmm.
system, and that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to make this podcast, to maybe share and to get some audience to tell them it's possible.
Yeah, yeah, and you also mentioned another really important part that happens that isn't talked about as much, which is when something like this happens, there's a a missing sensory awareness. So the mind body connection is dropped. The map
Yeah.
gets blurry when there's
Right.
this type of injury or trauma. Or
Yeah.
just a collapse. There's a remapping of the body
Yeah.
in the mind, and so
Yeah.
when that happens,
Oh,
that's an important part of the process that people don't realize.
yeah.
Um,
This is a very, very important topic because the people don't even know that we have a map of our body in the mind. So let's talk a bit about that, because injuries, trauma, and all those not enough movement, they lead to this blurring of the map, and then our brain doesn't feel safe, and it just says, "Okay, I leave you in this kyphosis." But let's say through breathing or through different systems of the body, we can get access to it again, or we can work with the bones, although people told us we cannot.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's constantly remapping, but it is constantly looking for the most efficient way to move. And if that's in a collapsed state, it's efficient because it doesn't need to rewire. It doesn't need to kind of like build a new path.
Right.
So efficient doesn't always mean the best posture.
Right.
It's quite interesting how the body prioritizes flow over structure. The body is willing to compromise the structure in order to maintain flow. Because if there's, structure is irrelevant if there's no flow. If there's no flow, there's death.
Yeah. The beginning of every incident or injury or disease is the lack of flow. So I believe that's why you called yourself the flow wolf.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it just kind of came to me. I just knew that flow was always an important part of this, and then now as I've gone deeper and deeper, it's like, whoa, it's everything. It's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's funny how the body will and the mind will tell you what it wants.
Right.
It gives you hints, it gives you signals, it gives you messages, and it's about listening to that. I know when I was deep in the compression and being choked out, I felt like my life force was just being choked out, literally. I woke up at about 4 a.m. and I just had an urge to walk and hike the local mountain
Okay.
and get some barefoot shoes. And I was just
Oh,
like,
nice.
that was just like, was such I've never had such a clear message of just do this, like walk the mountain, get barefoot shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. And it was because, the big toe is in such an important part of the
Yeah.
chain. And especially in the psoas muscles, when that was compressed,
Mm-hmm.
You know, it needed that full chain activation,
Yeah.
and it was asking me that in a very specific way. You
Yeah.
know, because the body is always sending these signals. It wants efficiency and it wants flow.
Right. And this is also a big part. If people are disrupted from their signals from the body, it's very hard to sense them or to really take action about it. But to getting back to this and feeling the intuition, hey, at 4 a.m., you just do it and you really do it. Listening to the body is an art in itself, for movement, for eating, for all those things. And I had a good question from a woman because she asked, like, is scoliosis really curable as your reels suggest? She writes, and yes, and how to do it and why. Yeah, the rest.
Yeah,
Okay, so she said the rest would be like, yeah, just orthopedics, or so they just tell you you could do like a pain management, or you just
pain
gotta live
management.
with
Yeah.
that. So is there a way?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's so much to break down in that question. You know, I'll start where the orthopedic surgeon, you know, his job is really to tell you whether you're a candidate for surgery or not. His job is not to train you into a better way of operating and standing and balancing and moving and breathing. That's not his job, right? His
That's
job is
what I'm
to,
telling the people. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. And it's kind of funny. The medical system isn't really geared for that. Like they have physiotherapists in the system sometimes, but usually that's not in the insurance part of it. Like
Yeah,
it's like a
right.
different section.
Yeah, right.
So if you're lucky, the doctor would send you to a physiotherapist. But
Yeah, and if you're
then
lucky, you get a good
traditional,
one.
hmm?
If you're lucky, you will get a good one.
If you're lucky, yeah,
Yeah.
and a good one. And but even sometimes there's great physiotherapists, but they haven't. But their training and their perspective is based on a more classical biomechanical model
Yeah.
instead of a myofascial tensegrity model,
Yeah.
which is a very big difference in how to perceive how the body stands up and what posture is.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, you know, a stack of bones where there's muscles that are
Yeah.
firing to help stand us up, we're looking at the fascial webbing that creates tensegrity and allows us to basically allows the bones to be floating,
Right.
suspended inside of our body
So
because
this,
of that
I
relationship of tension and compression in the body.
yeah, I totally get your point, and this is a very special thing because can you imagine? Only after I finished my physiotherapy studies, I got to know about tensegrity, and the
Right.
book, and you know. So let's maybe break it down for the people that they know what this is about. So you talked about floating bones and the chains, like
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, tensegrity is it's the word came from tensional integrity. So the integrity of tension in your structure,
yeah,
and what that means is you could imagine a cobweb of a spider. You could imagine a tent, right?
yeah,
I like a tent one because you have the poles, which are the struts. They're compression, and then you have the cables, and that has tension in the cables to maintain that strut, you know,
yeah,
in its position. So tensegrity is the relationship between tension and compression, right? That's
yeah,
the compression. So we have bones that create compression, and then we have myofascial lines of connective tissue that create tension throughout the body and allow us to hang, right? So it means that our arms and our shoulders and our hands, they're not part of our posture. They're suspended. They're actually floating
yeah.
on the rest of our
Right.
structure. So there is some stacking lower down, but really from the hips up, we begin to float.
Right, right. This is very important. Yeah, we're actually flowing, and even in our joint inside, there's also liquid like water. We are gliding on water, and we're
Mm-hmm.
floating. We're like a soup of bones, and this is very important for people to really grasp that even our bones, we can work with them, and they're floating. This is a thing.
Yeah.
So there is always a way, let's say,
Yeah.
out of scoliosis, but then you need to know the steps and how to do it.
Yeah. And so when you have, this new perspective, it
Mm-hmm.
changes a lot, because then you're not looking at the spine mechanically like
Yeah.
you would if you were looking at it from a classic biomechanics view, where
Yeah.
tensegrity isn't a concept in the body. If you're looking at it from the tensegrity view, you're looking at it as an expression, a compensation of what's happening in the entire body. You start looking at the whole body together.
Yeah.
And then, so let's talk about the word scoliosis. Scoliosis just means a bend,
Mm-hmm.
right? Scoliosis is not a virus or a disease that's happening to people, and so therefore, it's not something that in my opinion, like cured. Tells me that the way that she's looking at scoliosis is that, like, oh, it's a disease happening to me,
Yes, I understand. So she's like
right?
powerless, so to say.
Powerless,
Or
something's happening.
yeah.
And especially when you have 80% of scoliosis cases that are idiopathic, which means
Yeah.
idio, unknown, pathic, origin. So 80% of the cases, we don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So all they're really saying, despite all of the authority and the institutional power that they have, all they're saying is that there's a bend in your spine and we don't know where it comes from.
Right.
If they were being honest, if that's what we should be understanding in that conversation, instead of, oh, you've got a 20-degree scoliosis and there's nothing you can do. Like, that's a very different story than, well, there's a bend in your spine and we don't know what's happening. And also, there's new research about tensegrity, but we haven't updated our textbooks and our educational perspective to look at the spine in a whole new way. So you should probably explore some things on your own, because we're not going to be we're pretty slow to change, because it takes about 17 years from studies to emerge and show a new reality until it becomes mainstream. It's called the academic lag. It takes about 17 years. So we've had the studies to show that tensegrity is a concept, that force is being transferred through these myofascial lines, but that's not going to be in mainstream medicine for another 5, 10, 15 years. Who knows?
Wow.
So then there's that. And then it's like, well, okay, can scoliosis be cured? You start seeing like how complicated that question is, because now the whole concept of the question is kind of like taking us into the wrong direction. Or so I have to figure out what she actually wants to know. Can you get better, right? Can you improve it? Can you change this bend?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's figure out why the bend is happening. So when I look at as I understand the body, I understand the body as from the nervous system level. And when I say nervous system, I mean the brain, which continues through the spinal cord, and the autonomic nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, and it's plugged, it's innervated, so it's like directly connected straight into the fascia.
Yeah.
I see it as one thing. I see the brain to the fascia as the same thing. I like when they cut the brain out and they said, okay, here's the brain, here's the spinal, here's the nervous system, here's the fascia over here.
This is just excuse me. Yeah, they said it to us. This is just for people to grasp it with the mind, that you have the nervous system, the lymphatic system, and all those systems, but they are all one. And also your thought, or this concept of the tip of the finger, and all those layers, they all come together, that this being in there gets the information from out here, and we're like this, like,
Oh yeah. Yep. Primarily it's getting information through the eyes. About 70% of the information is coming through the eyes. That's why they're very important, right? When we're born, what do babies have? They don't have that map of their body yet. All they have is their eyes and their diaphragm. Right? The diaphragm, they're starting to breathe or cry, right? They're crying. So they're in danger, and all they've got is their eyes. And so they look around, and then eventually they're like, okay, I guess it's kind of safe. I'm alive. I'm breathing. right? So safety is established in the nervous system, and all they've really used is their eyes and their diaphragm at that point.
Yeah.
So then
And the
then
hip
they
flexors too.
what's that?
The hip flexors are also working.
Hip flex. Eventually, yeah, the hip flexors start happening. Yep, they're happening.
And also they are
There's a
linked.
process.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. Because the diaphragm and the hip flexors also linked, and this is also the first reaction of those primal muscles. Like we just know, from babies, like they're
Right.
always, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the fetal position, flexion, ultimate kind of flexion there. So as we get safety, we go into a little bit of extension, and then where are we collecting information? Nervous system is eyes primarily, and then the feet. Feet are a major one. Tactile, things we touch, we get feedback from the environment. We've got a vestibular system internally, which is like, okay, where are we in space, right? So the nervous system starts reading all this information. Then our diaphragm becomes an important piece of this, because as we start, we've got our hands and our feet now. We've built our map. Then we start flipping over onto our tummy, right? For tummy time. And to do that, we have to kind of lift our head up. And that's when we're starting to deal with pressure internally. We're starting to brace ourselves, right? Especially to go from tummy time into crawling. We need to manage the pressure. So primarily air pressure in our chest and fluid pressure in our abdominal cavity.
yeah. Right.
And our diaphragm is regulating that pressure. So as we go from tummy time to crawling to kneeling to standing, the way that we manage that pressure is really, really important. So, when I look at the nervous system, I see it as the processing part of this that's constantly scanning the environment outside and inside, and determining what is the best posture. How are we going to hold ourselves?
Yeah.
So when we have a traumatic event, maybe it's a sprained ankle, maybe it's a hip injury, maybe it's a psychological family chaos, and it sends adults or teenagers back into the fetal position, right? Flexion.
Yeah.
Right? They've learned that, okay, wow, something dangerous is happening. Maybe they're going to dorsal vagal shutdown. Maybe they're going into like a sympathetic fight or flight. They're activated, right? Just tension, right? Ready to fight. They've learned that that's how they survive. And if the body doesn't unlearn that, they can carry that for years and years and years, and then so many years go by, and then all of a sudden they think, well, this is just who I am. This is the map of my body now. And so when I look at, okay, how do we improve our, a bendy spine? I look at, well, how do we establish safety in the nervous system? How do we rebuild a map of the body? And then how do we begin to learn to regulate pressure again correctly? Because when you're braced up in a fetal position, you're in flexion, you're using your diaphragm differently. And your diaphragm, if it stays dysfunctional, it's not regulating pressure. So I see it as a giant reflexive loop.
Right.
The whole system is just constantly reflecting the environment. And that means that we can change how it reflects. It means we can change the information it's getting and the output that it's giving us. Right. So is it possible to cure scoliosis? I would say it's possible to update your body's response to the environment that it is perceiving. And that improves your posture.
Right.
Some people with scoliosis, kyphosis, it gets very structural. It happened early on, so there's a lot of very thick, dense tendinous connective tissue. In my case, I have a structural curve, so I have quite a thick layer of tendons and collagen, and the curve has actually become part of the structural support. So I have, a bigger challenge than a lot of people.
Right.
But despite that, I know that there's so much that I can do, and I can feel those changes happening every day.
Okay.
And I wouldn't ignore that, because if you ignore it and you do nothing, that's going to be the most dangerous thing you could do.
Right. That's what I say. If you give up, and you stop moving, you can just die. It's same like dying. What I wanted to ask, now I forgot. Look. So because I heard about that there is this possibility for the body. So we discussed it in the studies that, let's say you're in a kyphotic job and you never move outside of this pattern, let's say, and they said that it's shutting down the muscles in the back and just building normal muscles, but the connective tissue only. And I'm really curious if it's like that, and if it's the case, if you can rebuild back the muscle, or is it interconnected, the muscles and this connective layer, or how do you feel it?
Yeah, so there's myofibroblasts, which are cells that operate in the fascia, and they construct new fascia. The connective tissue fascia webbing is constantly updating itself based on the inputs. So if our inputs is 8 hours a day in a kyphotic posture, the body, and remember the fascia is the brain, it's going to say, well, this is our strategy, so let's get efficient.
Yeah.
And so efficiency means laying down new collagen in that position, because, well, this is how we're hanging out now. So let's survive in this position.
Right.
And so it responds to that. And so that's why it becomes very dense, and they can't get out of that. And it just feels like, oh, that's who I am now, because their body has constructed more collagen, more fascia, more connected tissue to hold that kyphotic posture. So what it means, in order to change it, and this is why modern medical system struggles, is because they're much more suited to emergency situations and surgeries and treating infections and wounds and things that need to happen now. They're not designed to help you train different inputs over months and over time. Right? To work with the body, to empower you to start giving your body new inputs. It's just, so we can't expect that from that modern medical system. And so that's, now we know the way out. If we know how we got in there, then we kind of know the way out. We kind of have to find new ways to breathe and sit and move that are not training our body to create more and more collagen in that way. And it does adapt. It just takes time and consistency, and that means that it's a challenge, because as humans, we always look for the easiest way, and consistency and complacency about this stuff. Oh, it's not important enough. Oh, I don't have time for it. That's really the thing that's keeping most people in pain.
Oh man, the amazing thing is to speak with a body expert like you. No, doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the earth, it's if you really go into this topic of the body and the spirit and everything that's there, I say you drink from the source, and everybody speaks the truth in a different form, or in the same form but in a different manner. And so it was so amazing to listen to you, because we came to the same conclusions. And I'm dealing so much with this topic every day, to help to get into people's minds, that they get into their body, and that they get this awareness and stuff. And man, this is very, very amazing what you're doing.
And and it's great to connect with you, because like, as a society, we're like, okay, if someone's a doctor or a physiotherapist, then they know everything there is. And it's like, okay, no, as you've just shared, right? Like, it was after your studies, it was through your own curiosity, your own obsession with this, that you got closer to the truth. So that's a big one that people kind of have to navigate as well, because when we see the white lab coats and the big shiny buildings, we're like, oh, those are the people who have the answers.
Right.
But in actuality, it's not always the case.
Right, right. Very important. So, yeah, this was after the first physiotherapy studies. Then I had different ones with this knowledge inside. But yeah, you need to let that sink in. And also, um, yeah, also after my studies, or when I decided to go, let's say I was in Portugal 1 month on my own, didn't plan anything, just had my, you always got a home gym, you got a few bands, a ball, and all those things. And I just went on the beach every day, went for surfing, and then beach workout, and just then I said to myself, I will do something that I didn't learn. And then I just started to do different stuff and on a different level, because for me it felt like the physio that I learned in the beginning, it was like, this muscle attaches here and is disconnected, and this one lifts here, and then I broke up this thing of this, like, and then I
Yeah.
came there, and now I'm combining it with the studies, with the work, with the techniques, but with the intuition too, and that's so important. And I had a question for you, because you were speaking about grounding and the food and stuff, and also I don't know if I can speak about it, but I will just speak about it, because sometimes I was recommending also people, or not I was recommending, but there's a possibility to take like a microdoses of mushrooms, so to say, to connect different parts of the brain, but also to open up the body, because what I did there, like I experimented with that a little bit, and then I've done my sessions, and literally with the hypnosis at night that I've done for 30 days, and then on a party where I done a forgiveness ritual with my knee, where I connected my brain with my knee again,
Mm.
so it went into one, and then I had this experience at night where I was dreaming, but I was still kind of aware. And then I had this thing in here, not here between my toes, but in the foot. It was like ripped apart. And then I saw blood and felt pain and stuff. And then it was stitched by the hands of God. For me, it was like that. And it went up my leg into my, let's say, energetical, like sacral chakra area. And I woke up next day and my knee pain was gone, and I had years of struggles with knee pain, and man. So, because
Mm.
also psychedelic is a thing, it can be very, very helpful for some people with body work. What is your opinion?
Yeah, I've experimented along those lines, and I think there's a lot of there has been a lot of value to them in my own process. I think our imagination and our psychology is a big part of this, and so when we start approaching the body and the brain as one, when
Right.
we're kind of exploring on these journeys, what we're imagining is being, who knows where it comes from, but I think it's probably coming from the activity in the cells in the body, and what they need, and so you've mentioned, intuition. I think that's a big part of it. I think we have a blueprint, an electrical blueprint that the body follows,
Mm-hmm.
and so they there's things that are passing through our mind that are guiding us in the right direction. And so if we can explore those and open our mind to those things, whatever we imagine here is happening. And so that visual journey you had was actually, maybe part listening or um, part communicating and instructing the cells in your body to go through with that.
Right.
And so I think, yeah, it's absolutely, I'm happy there's a lot of research going on around it.
Yeah.
And I think an interesting piece to add to that would be that I think they've also shown that it's possible that just through mindful attention in the body. So if we imagine certain parts of the body, we can actually increase infrared light in that area of the body.
Yeah.
And so it's a very small amount, but I think it's a significant thing, because like the science will say, oh well, it's just such a small amount, it couldn't do anything. Well, okay, why do we have that ability to generate infrared light in parts of our body? Like we know infrared light, red like infrared light, solar panels and red light panels are great. Well, okay, well, why haven't we learned how to do that ourselves internally as well, right? Because we know the fascia is a liquid crystalline information network through that water, that easy phase water. So like this gel type water in our cells, we're transmitting information at light speed. And so there's a lot to the body that I think we should be opening our minds to, especially as we know that most of what we know about the body needs to be rebuilt on these new perspectives.
Right. That's a very good point.
New perspectives, but also old perspectives, right? We look at Eastern Chinese medicine. They had already mapped the energy channels, the meridians, which coincide with a lot of the fascial lines. They have practices like Qigong, which is a slow, mindful movement, which I think is very nutritious for the body, because it's helping the nervous system feel safe. It's restoring the awareness of sensory interoception, proprioception in the body, and it's regulating the tone and the pressure as you're moving around. So for me, Qigong, for example, follows the complete sequence of what a effective, myofascial treatment would look like.
Right, and also the energetical part of it that connects also with the myofascial system and the rest, and that's like in the Western society, or let's say in where I live, or I don't know about your place. There's the circles where people know about energy and spirit and stuff, and but this is not a hippie or voodoo thing. This is just like science, that we have this energy going to our body, and that if we put our energy on our knee or on a place, that we get like more attention there, and that's just a fact. So it's not possible to neglect.
Yeah. It's just not a mainstream common understanding for whatever reason, and that's the way it is. But for people who are ready to realize that and to find the truth, they can find it.
Right. I think amazing. That's a beautiful talk. I think we can lock in for this first sequence. And
amazing.
At first, I wanted to give a special thanks to you. I will, of course, post and tag your page, and so people can contact you, because for us, if we're here in Europe, sometimes a person from the other side of the earth gives us another perspective, and I hope we can create some reach. Would be amazing, and I think we'll reach one or the other person that is struggling with those topics. And it was very, very inspiring to meet you and to talk to you. And hopefully see you soon in America or whatever, and then we do a live event or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, hope to cross paths down the road. Thanks very much for having me on. I think we got it. We broke down some pretty important stuff. So I hope it helps.
Sure, man. Appreciate your time. Thank you. See
Appreciate
you
you
the
too.
next time. I will just stop the